Where is she going? Don't allow her to move past you.
Alright guys, as you're coming in, please make sure that you are not talking. Thank you so much. We are very close to the people that are flying the International Space Station.
Don't find any open seats, go ahead and stand behind the podium. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now before we start the presentation, I'm going to go over a quick summary of the rules downstairs. Now make sure that the flash and our cameras and cell phones are turned off. Make sure our phones are in silent or vibrate. Again, if you do end up having to take an important phone call, if you have any little ones with you that have become a little rowdy, feel free to step out to the hallway that we just came through. Once you're done with your business, just join us back there. Now we are able to sit or stand in the stairway, so we don't have seats where we stand behind those podiums. But at this time, ladies and gentlemen, if I can give y'all some undivided attention to our lovely host, Abby.
Okay. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the White Light Control Room, or as you may know it, the Orion Mission Control. This room is most well known for flying the last half of the Space Shuttle missions, starting with STS-70 and moving all the way through to STS-135. This is a total of 66 Space Shuttle missions flown from this room. Now if you take a look at the top of that wall, on my right side, you'll see there are about 65 mission patches on that side, and then our 66 mission patch is actually going to be over on the left, on the bottom. Now this is because all of our missions start at the bottom, and then once they have been completed, they'll get moved up to the top. So the 3 on the bottom, as well as that 4th patch, those represent our ongoing or unfinished missions. You may be familiar with a few of these, because these are the Apollo 1, the Columbia, and Challenger. Because our astronauts never came home safely, these missions will always be considered ongoing or unfinished. Now the Apollo 1 and the Challenger, those were not seen from this room. They were seen on the other side of the building over in the Apollo Mission Control. However, the loss of the Space Shuttle Columbia was seen from this very room. Now that means that the room that you're sitting in is the same room where the astronauts' families sat whenever they heard that sad news that their families would not be coming home. Now you will notice there's also a 4th patch on the bottom over there. It's actually a memorial patch designed by a flight director to represent the loss of our 3 missions, and it's in memory of them. So if you take a look at the top of that wall, you'll see there's also 3 patches up there. Those represent International Space Station expeditions. We actually did fly the International Space Station from this room for about 9 months back in 2016, while the International Space Station Mission Control was getting an update to look the exact same as the room that you're looking at today. So if you look at the TVs on my right and my left, you'll see live footage of the International Space Station Mission Control. You'll notice it does look the exact same as the room you're looking at, and that is because this one is not only a training room for our future mission controllers, it's also a backup room for in case of an emergency. Now on a normal weekday, people will come into this room and they'll train for a day on the International Space Station. It'll be a simulation. Sorry. Okay. So they're going to run a simulation on what the International Space Station Mission Control would be like. However, it's not like any other day. It's actually a very bad day, and you would be able to tell that is true because if you look over on my left at the back of that wall, you'll see that screen. Now, usually that screen would be full of red and yellow lines. Yellow lines being a minor error, like maybe something was plugged into the wrong area. or their low batteries for the ISS. And then the red bar would be a major error, like maybe damage to the exterior of the International Space Station. So the reason that it's playing right now is because it's actually live and accurate to the International Space Station, meaning that there are no errors going on right now. It's actually because they only get about 1 or 2 errors every few weeks. And then that's actually for minor errors, and then major errors, they only get 1 or 2 of those for every few months. So it's very rare there will be a problem inside this room. However, they do want to be prepared for absolutely anything, because in the case of a life or death situation, they want our mission controllers to be prepared and not stressed out themselves, because if the people flying the International Space Station are stressed out, of course the astronauts living in the International Space Station will also be stressed out. And as I already mentioned, NASA's main priority is the health of our astronauts. Now if you look on that screen, you'll also see that little black box with a green box on the inside that says go. That means that we are currently in communication with the ISS. So if it were to turn red and say bad, it's actually not a bad thing. That is the only situation where our mission controllers would get a little bit of a break. So this is when they can go to the bathroom, maybe get up and stretch their legs or grab a cup of coffee. Unfortunately, while we are in communication with the ISS, they do have to ask their boss to use the restroom, just like a child in school. So it's a really good thing when that happens. And whenever we lose communication with the ISS, it does not mean that they're not in communication with the Earth. Any of our NASA partners can grab that communication and talk to the astronauts. However, usually it is scheduled because we share our satellites with other government agencies. We know exactly when it's going to happen. We let our partners know in advance. Now that screen in the middle, that one is also accurate to the ISS. So it is showing you where the International Space Station is right now. It looks like it's in the ocean heading towards North America at this time. So on the left side of the map, it's going to look like that little white circle with the flattened out butterfly on the inside. It's heading towards the light side. So that means that we are actually in daytime on the ISS. You can tell that is true because if you look at the screen on my left, you'll see that little picture of the Earth. Now something that's very interesting about that is that it's actually not a picture. It is live footage from the International Space Station. Now, something else to note about that is that the Earth is round. Now, I'm saying this because if you look at the screen in the middle once again, you'll notice it has those wavy lines on it, and those represent the track that the International Space Station takes every day. So it does orbit the Earth every 90 minutes, causing the astronauts to see about 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets every single day. So it doesn't look like you'll be able to see a sunset today. However, because we did just have one, you can see kind of the Earth is slowly lighting up on the screen. So that's something really nice to see. The astronauts do get pretty tired of it because they see it 32 times a day. But it's my favorite thing to see. Now that I've talked about the past and the present of this room, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the future of this room. Do any of you know what the Orion is? Awesome. So, what is it?
Well,
It is, that's right, it's a module. So it's going to be the capsule to be used to go to Mars, and hopefully one day even beyond. So our, excuse me, our Orion capsule is going to be bringing us to Mars between the years of about 2035 and 2045. And it is going to be about a 3.5-year round trip. Because of that, we do have to build up to it. So we're actually going back to the moon once again in the year of 2020 with an unmanned launch of the Artemis Orion 1. This is going to be taking our Orion capsule and SLS rocket to the moon, and it's going to come back to Earth. Then, in about 2023, we're going to be sending astronauts to the moon once again to build a sort of refueling system in the orbit of the moon. There's also going to be a living area for the astronauts, so it's going to be sort of like an International Space Station with a refueling station attached. Now something to note about that is, because Artemis is the twin sister of Apollo, That means hopefully the first person to step foot on the moon this time is going to be a girl. Now, as I mentioned, it is going to be about a 3.5-year trip to Mars, and that's because it's about a 9-month trip to Mars, and then they have to stay on the Martian surface for 1 year, and then it's another 9-month trip back. Now, that could be extremely damaging to an astronaut's body, because they do lose about 2% of bone mass for every 1 month in space. That means they could lose up to 72% of bone mass. Because of that, our launch date is still about 15 to 25 years away. Now, that does seem very far away, but if you think about it, that means that we are probably sitting in the same room as our Mars astronauts. And that's because they're still between the ages of about 6 and 17. So if you take a look around you, you'll be sitting near the next astronaut's range history, maybe even the first person to step foot on Mars. Now, unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for the Orion Mission Control today. Now is a good time to take a look around you. Make sure you're not forgetting any personal belongings, such as car keys, cell phones, or children.